Hey everyone, Zeddy here again to do the brand new video, and with Scholomance Academy coming out in just a couple of weeks, I thought it'd be interesting to take a look and look back at Ashes of Outland as a whole and review it, you know? Typically we do all these card reviews and all this stuff leading up to the event, and by the way, mine will be coming out as soon as all of the cards are revealed for Scholomance Academy. I don't want to clog your inboxes filled with inaccurate reviews and all that, because it's hard to review cards without them all being revealed and all that, because stuff can work with other stuff. So once the final reveal happens later this week, I will start hitting you up with basically 2 videos a day outlining every single class and reviewing all the cards and all that. Anyways, just wanted to announce that. But in regards to Ashes of Outland, I thought it'd be interesting to take a look back and see how much of a success this expansion was, basically. I'm not going to look back at card reviews and all that. We're going to look at every single class and break down what, new decks popped up, what classes were strong, and overall, did Ashes of Outland make Hearthstone a better, more interesting game? Was it a net positive, all of that? So let's start taking a look at every single class and break down, was Ashes of Outland a failure, or was it a giant success? So let's start with the 9 original classes. Ashes of Outland was the first expansion ever to add a brand new class in Demon Hunter. We all know there's a lot of stuff that went on with Demon Hunter, so we'll get to that last. But let's start off with all the 9 classic classes and see how well they fared in Ashes of Outland. So we had Druid. The new major additions were basically spell Druid stuff. So you have Fungal Fortunes, Overgrowth, Glowfly Swarm being the standouts. And they tried to make big shaman work. You had Marsh Spawn and some big stuff like that. But overall, Big Druid didn't work out. Quest Druid, which was a pretty powerful deck prior to rotation, completely fell off as it lost Lodi and Howl and Floop. It was just too much of a hit for the deck. But Spell Druid became a powerhouse. It was a legitimate tier 1 deck throughout a good amount of Ashes of Outland, and was not really popular among a lot of players in terms of facing it. There was a lot of high roll aspect to it. If you draw a ramp, you kind of won. If you didn't, you lost. The 0-mana beasts you can get from Mount Seller, and then the whole RNG with dragon portals and all of that. Overall, Druid didn't really do that much outside of Spell Druid. It was basically one archetype in the entire expansion that picked up, and it really was not very popular amongst at least a lot of people, but it saw a lot of success on ladder, and it was definitely a different archetype that we hadn't really seen before on ladders, so we'll give it that. Druid had one brand new deck pop up, and it was definitely very competitive. Next, we have Hunter. Hunter didn't really see an emergence of any real new deck come in. They have a bunch of this pan beast buff stuff, this 4-mana spell that could give +3 damage, +3 in your hand, and that didn't really pay off. But you had Scavenger's Ingenuity, which was eventually nerfed, which would tutor out a beast and you could buff it at the same time. But basically, Highlander Hunter was the main powerful Hunter deck the entire time for Ashes of Outland. You had Face Hunter, you had Dragon Hunter, those were strong decks and saw a good amount of play and had success. But overall, Highlander Hunter was definitely the big powerhouse. But again, none of these decks were really new. All of them pre-existed mainly from Descent of Dragons, and there were some additions to it, you have Zigzor Prime, Prison Felmaw, and Nagrin Slam as well. But overall, not a ton of new cards added to these decks, and again, no real new archetypes. So in terms of Hunter, yes, Hunter is strong, saw lots of play, but really nothing new came out of this expansion. Next, we have Mage. One of the biggest archetypes they try to push was Spell Mage. So you have Fawn of Power, Incanter's Flow, Deep Freeze, and Apexis Blast, these powerful kind of minion generating or spell discounting spells. And the idea was to play, just a deck of spells. But with the aggression of Hunter and Demon Hunter, this deck never really saw that much competitive play, but was very popular. I played it very early on in the expansion. It was one of my very early on in my YouTubing career so far, and those are some of my most popular videos from there. People love Spellmage, and it was a lot of fun to play. I mean, I think I got Asmodai to play it for a while, even shouted me out on Twitter about it. He loved it, but unfortunately, just never really panned out as a top tier deck. Just a fun one that you know, it could do well in like small pockets, but overall, you're good at D rank at higher ranks. It's just could never deal with the aggression. Other than that, you had Highlander Mage, which existed, you know, basically since Reno and Zephyrus has been in the game. And yeah, it's still really good. You still, and the new Prime minion really put it over the top as well. Made it very competitive. People hit rank 1 Legend with Highlander Mage. And another thing that popped up was basically Puzzle Box Mage. You just cheat out puzzle boxes. You play Dragoncaster and cheat out Puzzle Box, but Dragoncaster ended up getting nerfed. And yeah, that deck doesn't really see play anymore and was never really top tier. In terms of top tier decks with Mage, basically Highlander Mage is really the only one. You know, people experiment with other archetypes, but it really didn't become realistic. So again, no real new archetypes were really created that were competitive, but I'll give an honorable mention to Spell Mage because it saw a lot of play and it's a lot of fun, and I do appreciate the effort, and it wasn't like you can't win games with it. So we'll say that Mage did introduce one new archetype, but mainly it was really not. Next, we have Paladin. Wait, Paladin's still in the game? I thought they deleted it. Yeah, so Paladin has been in a really rough spot. They got like this pure Paladin support, and they got some Murloc support. HS Replay has had Murloc Paladin as like a top performing deck across all ranks for like almost the entirety of the expansion. The thing is, once you get to the competitive ranks where you're facing Warrior and like Demon Hunter and all these other decks, they just don't compete, and you never really see it at like high ranks. But and outside of that, pure Paladin, not really competitive. I mean, it can win games. Any deck can kind of win games. But yeah, overall, Paladin was just a massive failure this expansion. And it's just sad to see basically a class completely deleted from the game. No real top archetype was established from this expansion. Then we have Priest. Priest was an interesting one. They Hall of Famed a bunch of cards going into this expansion, reworked a bunch of classic cards as well, and then, you know, introduced quite a lot of powerful tools. You had like Renew, Soulmere, Sethic Veilweaver, Apotheosis, and basically from all of these changes, the main thing that popped up was Galakrond Priest. Galakrond for the longest time was regarded as the only garbage Galakrond. Like all the other ones were either dominant or saw play, and the Galakrond for Priest was terrible. Well, now, because of the diluted Priest pool, Priest minions are pretty good. They got a lot of good tools, and yeah, it became a top tier deck, especially with how well it countered Warrior, which has been insanely good this entire expansion. So yeah, Priest got that. Q Priest emerged and became pretty good. You have like Grave Runes and the copy card and all that stuff. And even Highlander Priest saw a decent amount of success. So Priest, probably outside of Warrior, we'll get to Warrior, had the biggest benefit from Ashes of Outland. We saw like 3 new archetypes pop up that were all relatively competitive. So the only issue with Priest is people really freaking hate Priest. You can't go onto Reddit or anything without people wanting them to delete Priest. So yes, Priest emerged, but the archetype of random crap and garbage, like healing and just suffocating your opponent, it's just gross. A lot of people don't like it. So yes, Priest saw a lot of decks come into play, but I don't know, people don't really seem to enjoy it. But I like playing Galakrond Priest, I guess. It's control-ish. Yeah. I'll say 3 new decks popped up and relative success. You got to give them credit. Priest, at least it's something, right? Next we have Rogue. Rogue basically got 2 new packages expansion. They got a stealth package, so you got like Shadow Jeweler, Hanar. Oh, sorry, that's the secret one. The stealth package like Spy Mistress, and you have the Draw 2, the Prime, which barely saw any play, and then you have the secret package with, as I mentioned, Shadow Jeweler, Hanar, which was nerfed, and, you know, a few new secrets, and Blackjack Stunner, which was also nerfed. And, yeah, my prediction going into this expansion was these like, packages weren't really going to establish their own new archetypes or decks. You're just going to throw them into Galakrond Rogue, because Galakrond's broken. And yeah, that's what happened. Galakrond's broken, which got nerfed as well. And it's still really good. So, yeah, no real new archetypes really popped up at all. Like, people tried, like, Aggro Stealth Rogue and all that. But Galakrond's is better. It's just better because it's broken. It just is. And yeah, so that's basically where we're at. No real new top archetype for Rogue is established at all. It's very much the same as prior. It's just, you know, you play your Invokes, you get your Lackeys, you play your Galakrond and your Tog and your Edwin, and you either play some stealth minions or some secrets with it. And that's about it. That's Rogue in a nutshell right now. And then we have Shaman. Wait, what? Oh, that's also apparently still in the game. Interesting. If you think Paladin's bad, Shaman is just unbelievably bad. Shaman was so bad, they buffed, like, a bunch of cards. They did buff some Paladin cards, but they really went crazy on trying to buff Shaman cards like Torrent and Lurker below, and yeah, it's still unplayable crap. They got, like, some spell stuff, like you could discover spells if you played a spell, and discount a spell if you played a spell, get AoE if you played a spell, but that's just, like, you don't win games with that. The only deck that really saw any prominence, like, at all, was Evolve Shaman. I think Jombray did okay with it, but overall, it's not top tier, very high rolly, very, like, you gotta draw the nuts and get some good RNG, with, like, the whole Bog Spine thing, but yeah. Shaman, complete and utter failure. No top archetype was established as well. So yeah, big time failure on that. I mean, Shaman's been really top tier for a while before, you know, the Galakron Shaman, the Evolved Shaman, and then it's dead. It just seems to be the way Shaman is. Like, it's either the best or the worst, and maybe it needs the Priest treatment next year. Maybe that could be the next class to get reworked like Priest, because I think it really needs it. Then we have Warlock. Warlock had some Zeus support, yeah, like Imprisoned Scrap Imp, some discard synergy with a Nightshed Matron and Hand of Gul'dan just being kind of, in my opinion, ridiculous power creep. Like, okay, well, we're going to make sure your discards are freaking insane because you're going to play a 4-mana 5/5 that basically will always draw 3. And then, yeah, not a fan of that, but maybe that's another video. And, yeah, so Zoo, especially early on with Unnerfed Scrap Imp, was pretty strong. It had one of the highest win rates ever of any card. If you had Scrap Imp in your mulligan, your win rate was like 70%. It was dumb. But outside of that, the deck was complete garbage. Like, if you didn't draw that card, you basically couldn't win. It's really frustrating, so they nerfed it. And the other deck that really popped up is the Quest OTK Malagos Warlock deck. And not a lot of real new additions from this expansion, but Moarg Artificer really, I think, is the card that really helped make this thing work, because it gave that deck the healing. You have Moarg, and then you double your healing spells. You double the damage of, like, Dark Sky. It just created so much flexibility that it was good. You had, like, Keladon and stuff, but again, that's not like a card that carries it at all. It's literally a neutral that really helped push it over the top, and is a very competitive deck. So, basically, 2 new archetypes popped up. Not that Zoo's a new archetype, but the build of it was new. And again, Quest Warlock was no longer, you know, a garbage meme. It was a legitimate deck that sees a lot of tournament play and ladder play, so Warlock did alright. Warrior, on the other hand, is like the big winner, outside of, you know, we'll get to Demon Hunter. Warlock was, like, insane. Warlock had the most success of all the original classes. You had a Rage Warrior, you had Egg Warrior, you had Bomb Warrior, you had Pirate Warrior, which was pretty good. You even saw, like, variants of Control Warrior, Galakron Warrior, like, so much stuff. Mainly all because of Skipper outside of Pirate Warrior. Like, Skipper's is such a broken, insanely good card. And then you have, like, the new additions, like Corsair Cash, which got nerfed. Blood Boil Brute, which got nerfed. And you had Wormald Challenger, which didn't get nerfed, which a lot of people are probably surprised about. And, you know, you have the old stuff like Bloodsworn Mercenary that carried a lot of stuff as well, especially in Rage and Egg Warrior. And, yeah, Warrior's been basically tier 1 the entire expansion. Very solid, very good. Like, 4 new archetypes established this expansion for Warrior. And personally, for me, I find them, at least a couple of them, pretty enjoyable to play. I love Skipper. I think the card's probably too strong, but it's such a cool card to play and can really reward good play, so I like the direction that Warrior made. None of this shit was, like, brute force. None of these cards were brute forced, for the most part. You could argue Cash and maybe Bloodsworn, and maybe Brute. Okay, some of them were brute forced. But a lot of it just kind of came together that where people didn't see it. Especially the whole Skipper package. Like, I don't think a lot of people saw how well that would come together. And yeah, Warrior's done some amazing stuff and is good and wild. We're making Skipper work and wild too. And then lastly, we have the brand new class to the game, Demon Hunter. It broke the game on its release. It just did. Like, it was nerfed after 1 day. It broke it that bad. Yeah, like, Skull of Gul'dan, it's just, we know the whole story. Like, over a dozen cards have been nerfed for Demon Hunter. Demon Hunter's either been tier S or tier 1 its entire existence, in Standard and pretty much Wild. Broke Arena too. And, yeah, I thought, you know, everyone was really excited. They were adding a new class to Hearthstone. It was the first time ever. I think a lot of people came back to Hearthstone to play Demon Hunter, give it a try. And I don't know, the general feeling I get, at least from my community, the stuff I read on Reddit, the stuff I read on Twitter, is that all that goodwill, all that excitement that Demon Hunter brought in is gone. And I think because of just how egregiously powerful it was, and honestly, it created a gameplay strategy, in my opinion, that felt way too linear and boring, because it's straight up, like, you played the same cards and go face every turn, and it was just like, I don't know, it felt unfair to play it. Even when I played it and I won with it, it just wasn't... I know it's fun to win, but it's not fun to win when it feels like it's not even a challenge half the time. Like, you just feel like you're playing a different game than your opponent if they're not playing, like, a top-tier deck to try and beat you. And I feel like all the goodwill and all the people that came back to the game, I think the majority of them are gone already. Like, you look at the numbers, like, on ladder, they're significantly down. Hell, I'm not the biggest Hearthstone streamer in the world. Like, until recently, we barely ever even hit 500 viewers. In the last 3 days, on Twitch, when I've been streaming, I'm the top ladder streamer. It's crazy how much people just don't want to stream, play, or watch ladder right now. And I feel a lot of this comes down to Demon Hunter being so oppressive and just frustrating and turning a lot of people away. And then for the majority, a lot of the other classes not really getting new stuff that was competitive outside of, like, Warrior and Priest. Like, it just kind of sucks, you know? So I guess this leads into my overall conclusion of Ashes Outlands. I kind of rate it as a failure. I mean, you introduced a brand new class that brought a lot of people back, and I feel like it did more harm than good in the long run. And outside of Warrior and Priest, there was just not really much new to play that was interesting. And considering this is the first expansion of a rotation where 3 prior expansions were a Hall of Fame to Wild, and you have a Hall of Fame rotation, and you had a class rework in Priest, and this little changed, it's kind of sucks. It kind of feels bad. So I think the biggest offender of all of this is the Descent of Dragons expansion. It's very Kobolds and Catacombs-y in that regard, that the power creep and the power level of that expansion was so ridiculous that it really made it so unless they went even crazier power creeping, which they did with Demon Hunter, there was no way to really compete with the prior stuff. Warrior was a happy accident, and a good one at that. But other than that, every other class is like Descent of Dragons, just Galakrond, Dragon Queen, all that stuff. Like, it's just that expansion just dominates, and it's been the most nerfed expansion as well. Like, if you don't count the Demon Hunter nerfs, it's just pretty crazy. So yeah, overall, Ashes of Outland, pretty disappointing, kind of a failure in my opinion. Let's hope that Scholomance Academy doesn't fall into that same trap. They've nerfed a lot of cards getting ready for this expansion, so maybe with all this other stuff dialed back, the next expansion can spice things up this time. And yeah, let me know what you think in the comments below. Do you agree, disagree? Do you think Ashes of Outland was a giant success? You love Demon Hunter, all that. Feel free to disagree with me. These are just my opinions. Right or wrong, whatever. Just throwing it out there. Yeah, and if you like the video, please like and subscribe. Have a great day. And stay salty, my friends.